This podcast is part of the Pull Up a Chair podcast network. Let's build community through connection, conversation, and collaboration.
Welcome to
How's That Working For You?
where
We spill the tea about relationships, millennial adulting, or whatever else life decides to chuck at us.
Hey Kat, what's up?
Oh, you know, I just had an interview last week and I had my first meeting this week. Just like little life changes.
Speaking of life changes, could you imagine being on Love is Blind?
Yes, actually. Because once upon a time, if I was still single, I'd probably find my way onto a show like that, knowing me.
Really? Because, oh my god, I would never, ever let myself go on a show like that.
I know, but you know me. I mean, I think that, my love story, what is it called? My love history is that I really didn't have much to lose at one time. So,
I mean, it could have been worse. Let's call your ex, what should we call him? Bob. Oh, poor Bobs. To all the Bobs in the world, we are sorry. But we're gonna call your ex Bob. And I know the guy you're talking about, because he was very emotionally and financially abusive to you.
He was, I feel like it's almost arguably worse than physical abuse, because it was emotional abuse and I could always make excuses for it. I mean, I broke up with that guy last year. So after I broke up with that, I was just like balls to the walls. I didn't have much to lose, to be honest. So maybe I might have found myself on Love is Blind. Who knows?
For the audience, let's talk about Love is Blind for a moment, because I think there's a lot of really big lessons to learn in the show.
And post-show, too.
Oh, especially post-show. Let's go through the couples real quick.
We have Lauren and
Cameron,
which is our favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the ideal couple. They had great communication. They had awesome chemistry. And I think that they just really made each other happy, and there's really nothing to complain about.
They're also going to have beautiful babies, sorry.
I mean, they're both so beautiful that I'd almost wish their babies come out a little bit lumpy, because personally, I think ugly babies are cuter. The lumpier, the better.
Oh my god. You are special.
Okay, so the next couple we'll talk about, I really want to talk about oh my god, what's her? Giannina and what's his nut?
What's his nuts?
I could not stand him. He gaslit the shit out of her the whole show. Yes, she was emotional. Yes, she needed therapy. But you don't just go treating a person like they're a burden for asking you your feelings. And there's so many red flags. Like, he almost quit his job to go on the show and then refused to tell her about it because he wanted to enjoy the sunshine a little bit longer. That's such a red flag.
Interesting, because I didn't really pay as much attention to that couple. They were both toxic. Let's be real here.
He needed therapy. He needed a shrink.
He did. She also did too, though.
You know, she needed therapy, but I don't think she was outrageously crazy. Like, she had a whiny voice, and I think that's what got under a lot of people's skin, is they didn't like the sound of her voice. But, like, her emotional response to his actions were a little extreme, but they weren't to the point where she was nuts, the way people are talking about her. She was emotional. She definitely needed therapy, but she wasn't the crazy one in that relationship. He was.
I think that because you have experience seeing toxic relationships, you can see that. But I think that because she was the more loud one, she was the more dramatic one. Like, not dramatic in a physical sense, in a outward sense, where she was constantly trying to cause scenes. I think that it could be really easy to overlook how toxic he was.
Yeah, like, she was very open about it. She was very clear where she was coming from. She was
Oh, yeah.
communicating very clearly. He just shut down, and I think that's so much worse.
He also, I don't know if you saw this meme. I know that you're not an Office fan.
It's not that I'm not a fan, I just haven't seen it.
But there's this meme. Hang on, I'll have to find this meme while you keep talking about them. Give me a sec.
Well, I mean, that's all there is to say.
Okay. Yeah, I found the meme. It's Damien from Love is Blind is actually Toby Flenderson from The Office. If for you Office fans out there, if you can find the parallel between Damien Powers and Toby Flenderson, it's funny because they look alike. He's balding.
Is that the only comparison?
It is just a physical comparison. It's just funny because they look so similar. It's nothing of their character at all. It's a meme. It's a meme. You shouldn't look too deeply into certain memes. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you that he's toxic, but she was also toxic, but she was very openly toxic. She kept telling him that she was working through a lot and that she self-sabotages a lot. And she was very open about that, which I agree that you should be open. You know me, I'm very open about my mental illness. Because it's important to tell your potential partner what they're walking into. It's just, I feel like it's catfishing if you don't.
I love that Cat mentions catfishing. I'm just gonna leave that joke there. Thank you.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. But don't you agree that it's I don't know, there are varying levels of what I'm talking about. But I think there's a difference between lying and not revealing the truth. But with something that's as character defining and volatile, like for me, bipolar disorder. For her, it was her trauma. Like, something that affects you so much, if you keep that from your partner, like the way Damien did, because he was going through a potential layoff or something.
What he said on the show was that his job told him, no, you can't take that much time off, and he left anyways. It wasn't a layoff. He set himself up to potentially get fired for a show that potentially wouldn't have even, gave him anything, and I think that's really indicative of his personality, that he just does whatever he wants, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how it affects other people.
Yeah, I it's interesting because that couple didn't super stick out to me as much as the other couples.
Well, they were as out there as some of the other couples, which we'll talk about. But I think they're the most normal. They're not super happy. They're not super upset.
But they're together now.
Yeah. Like I said, she needs therapy. He needs a shrink.
They both need help. And there is he gaslighted her, but she also said some things that were meant to trigger him. She said, oh my god, this quote, there's that point where she was in the kitchen and he was in the bedroom, and she looking away from him so that there was no face-to-face contact.
Oh, that I know what you're talking about.
Oh my god, she said, you know how you say that this is the best sex I've ever had? And well, have you ever noticed that I never say that this is the best sex that I've ever had? And oh my god,
that was awful. That was the worst thing she could have said to him. Such a burn.
I mean, men are so, they're so prideful of for some reason, they're very prideful of how they perform in bed. So, for her to say that in such a not sarcastic, just in the tone that she did, she was intentionally trying to hurt him. And that's such a toxic thing to do.
I think they would be better off if they just broke up for a few years, work on themselves as individuals, and then maybe try again, or just maybe move on to whole new people. Because unless they get some serious work done on both of their ends, and I know that she's been constantly trying to better herself, but I don't think he's done anything.
Yeah, I feel like this is a bigger topic, but I think that men face toxic masculinity where they often feel intimidated to get help. And I know that that's per situation. It's not everyone, not everyone has that point of view, and not everyone is through that, but my experience, I've dated a lot of guys who are of that type of background, i.e. white men, and I think that they have a lot of standards that they are subject to, because that's how society primed them to be. So I'm not saying it's an excuse. It is absolutely not an excuse, but it is an explanation, like something that I can contribute based on my own experience.
And from what I saw, it also seemed like he didn't think that there was anything wrong with him. Like, he seemed like he thought all the problems in their relationship was because of her.
Oh yeah, and I think that's also a toxic masculine thing too.
And I mean, if you truly loved a person, and if he truly felt like marrying her at the end would have been a bad thing, then he should have told her beforehand. It was wrong for her to go up there with the expectation that they were getting married, and for him to say no. And that, I think, that plus what happened early on the boat were both just really big red flags to me. And I know that the show cut it to like fit a narrative that it's all her fault, but there's so much more that happened off the camera that we don't see, and those are just such big red flags that it makes me concerned that there's a lot more going on there.
There's a lot more going on in all of those relationships.
Oh yeah, especially the Amber and Barnett, because oh my god, the show made her look nuts.
To be fair, no offense, Amber, if you ever hear this, I think that she is a little bit of a wild one. I think that it wasn't fair of the way that they portrayed her. They definitely cut out a lot. They definitely diminished her competence as a human being a lot.
Yeah, it's like they try to make her look like she was nothing but immature.
Nothing but immature in the hot girl, like a bimbo, basically. That's what
yes, absolutely. That is a great explanation.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, this dumb bimbo. And I feel so bad for judging her based on how they edited this. But she's an intelligent person. She has an engineering degree. I mean, yes, there were certain aspects of her and Barnett, like her meeting Barnett's family. I thought that was a little odd. I think that her perception of manners might be a little off.
I mean, manners by your standards. She would have fit in great with my family. Anyways, back to poor Amber, especially hearing her talk about the show afterwards and later reviews and in the reunion episode. It's like, man, they really wanted to make her seem like a gold-digging bimbo.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that she wasn't, to be honest.
Watching it from the standpoint of somebody that's done a lot of audio and video editing, like, there was, like, times where I noticed that they were cutting to something that was at a totally different time to make it seem like they were having a different conversation than what they were.
Yeah, I didn't watch it with that type of point of view, so it's interesting to hear that.
I can't watch anything without that thing in my brain, especially reality TV.
It never occurred to me. It was just pure trash to me. It was such good trash.
Excellent trash.
I know. It was just such good trash that even my boyfriend, who made fun of the promos, and whenever I tried to explain it to him, he was like, I'm not watching this. This is garbage. And then days later, he's like, do you want to finish episode 3? And I'm just like, see? Like, there is a method to the madness behind TV garbage.
Oh yeah, I mean, so my husband and I love to watch trash TV together. Like, you turn on the Maury show, we are there.
I know. Your husband is just, he's got these, he's sassy. He's low-key sassy. He's low-key sassy. Don't tell him I said that.
It's okay. It's not like he's gonna listen to this. I barely got him to watch the YouTube video I made where he cuts my hair and he's like doing impressions of Brad Mondo.
I've barely breached the surface of your husband's personality. Barely. I think he's finally accepted me as your best friend. It took a long time, even when I was spending 24/7 with you and talking to you on the phone literally every single day, he still didn't like me. He thought that I had ulterior motives.
He was skeptical. He's skeptical of everything, and that's why watching TV with him is so great, because he'll be all like, oh no, this person is blank. And like, so Damien, I didn't even notice the thing at the boat, the whole red flags there, until my husband pointed it out. And he grew up with a shrink. He'll point shit out that's all like, oh, I didn't really think of it from, a character standpoint or a personality standpoint and this and that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either until you mentioned it, to be honest. What, Kenny and...
The double K's is Kelly and Kenny.
Kelly and Kenny. Apparently, they made it seem like they were all good to go and lovey-dovey up until the very end, and they made Kelly look like the bad guy. And I thought, what? Where did this come from?
Yeah, and if you watch, like, the stuff afterward, she talks about how they agreed together to go up there and say no.
Yeah.
And then walk out together dating, because they weren't quite ready yet, because she still had some stuff to work through. And I feel like he only went on the show to get famous, because they weren't originally in Mexico. When Diamond and the other What's-His-Nuts left, Kelly and Kenny took their place.
Oh.
There was also a couple other couples that got together on the show but never made it to the rest of the show because they only had so many spots in Mexico and they wanted to keep it interesting.
Carlton.
That guy.
Oh my god.
Oh Lord.
I mean, I'm glad that he only got a little bit of airtime, to be honest. He does not deserve any attention, that man. And unfortunately, people who don't deserve attention often garner a lot of attention. But Carlton, he tried to make himself seem like the victim in the situation.
Yes. It seemed like he didn't want to get married, but he definitely wanted to get on TV.
Well, the reason, like, they made Diamond seem like a homophobic bitch. The way that they edited it, because they focused a lot on how Carlton was saying that he was afraid she wasn't gonna accept him if she found out that he was bisexual, and the editing team just ate it all up, and they made her seem like she wasn't gonna give him she said that she was gonna give him a chance, but they really glazed over that fact. They made it really seem like she was mad at him for being into men. And in that sense, Carlton really took advantage of the situation, and then it erupted in this fight where they didn't even talk. It was just yelling, and then he called her a bitch, and it was over.
Well, I mean, if you watch the fight very carefully, it starts out with, hey, I just have some questions from Diamond. And he was all like, I knew you weren't going to understand. And she's like, wait.
Oh.
All I had was just, some basic questions, because obviously I don't know you as well as I thought I did. Yeah, no, and then if you watch the reunion episode and you, look at their Twitters the day before the reunion episodes, it's interesting. Because on Twitter, he was talking about how she was a nasty hoe and she smelled like shit. And then the next day, we saw on the reunion episode that he, went and fished out the ring for her and asked her to take it as a sign of friendship. I think what he wanted was to get famous.
He wanted the audience to favor him again. He was trying to redeem himself in the most pathetic way. I think those are the ones that we wanted to touch up on, right?
Yeah, I feel like they're the most relatable couples out of the show. Mark and Jessica are their own hot mess, and they don't need any more screen time from us right now.
Right now, at least.
Any final advice before we leave?
Oh my gosh. Maybe don't go on a national TV. I don't know. What would you say?
I would say make sure that you're mentally healthy before you jump into a relationship of any sort.
But yeah, for the most part.
We'll see you guys next week when we talk about something else interesting. Who knows? We don't know. We haven't recorded it yet. Bye!
Bye.
Drink Something, Say Something is the podcast for those of you who are tired of other beer podcasts. Tired of the jargon, tired of all the rigmarole. We're going to bring on brewers, bartenders, and everything in between to talk about anything and everything from beer to the rest of the universe. Come crack one open with us every other Thursday.